think he's on mute.
Yeah, so we are about to start. Yeah, so let's start. We are live now.
A very good evening, everyone. Modern medicine has progressed a lot, from the germ theory of disease to organ transplantation, fixing genetic disorders, and curing cancer. It has come a long way and is still making new strides at a very rapid rate. All this was possible because of the passion and determination of researchers who kept working tirelessly, backed by their quest to answer questions and their desire to help humanity. With this thought in mind, I, Aparna, IT Director Games Delhi, welcome you all to this webinar on Introduction to Research and Research Approach as a Medical UG student. I'm sure all the participants here would have often pondered about pursuing research, but were either too afraid to take the first step or lack the knowledge of where to begin. We hope this webinar will answer most of your queries. To begin with, I would like to welcome the speakers from Jigyasa, the undergraduate research club of BJ Government Medical College, Pune. The motive of the club is to build a research culture in their campus, as well as spread awareness regarding its importance. Today, our speakers will be Kasturi, Rohit, Samira, and Avnika. All our speakers are principal researchers of ICMR approved projects and have presented the same at national and international conferences. We are very glad to have all of them addressing us today. Also, participants can type their queries in the chat box and we'll address them at the end of the session. Now, I'd like to invite our first guest speaker. Our first speaker is Kasturi. She's a third year MBBS student studying in BJGMC, Pune. She is the principal researcher of an ICMR approved project and has presented the same at national and international conferences. You're welcome, ma'am. Over to you.
Yes, thank you, Aparna. Okay, a very good evening to one and all. I'm Kasturi and I'm currently studying in third year of MBBS at BJGMC Pune. So before we begin, I'd like to thank the Global Association of Indian Medical Students for their collaboration with Jitnyasa and also for having us today on this platform to share our research ideologies with all the medical students out there. So without any further ado, let's start with the first topic of our today's session, which is how to choose a research question. So, what do you mean by a research question? In simple terms, it is a clear, concise, and an arguable question around which your entire research is going to revolve in future. You might also wonder that from where do I derive ideas to build up my topic? So here's what you can do. Firstly, try critically reading all the research articles which are published in well-known journals. Journals with higher impact factor. Build this as a habit as this might help you a lot in your future. What you can also do is try attending various conferences and seminars which are held in various medical colleges. This would help you to get an idea about existing research topics, which you could further modulate in future in order to build up your own question. What you could also do is attend your clinics. You got that right. Try attending your clinics, get acquainted with the patients. Also, try getting acquainted with the new technologies which tend to bring up new research questions. Whenever you come across any medical literature, try to find out a research gap and try raising doubts upon that. Last but not the least, try talking to various researchers. They may be your seniors or your colleagues who have already pursued research. Trust me, their experiences will surely help you in your research journey. So now that you have a broad idea about your research topic, how are you going to determine if it will end up into a successful research project? The answer is using the FINER criteria and the BICOT criteria. both of which determine the qualities of a good research question. The final criteria stands for feasibility, interest, novelty, ethics, and relevance. Now, the feasibility of your topic could be assessed by using these 5 questions. These are as follows. The first question is, are there adequate number of subjects to be enrolled in your study? The second question is your study affordable in time and manageable in scope? Also, is it affordable in money as well? The fourth question is there sufficient technical expertise? And the last question, are there adequate number of facilities and equipments available at your hospital to conduct your study? Once you have answers to all these questions, it would be easier for you to move ahead. Now, the second point is about interest. Your topic should interest your own self and also attract the attention of the readers. Make sure that it engages your peers and other scientific and non-scientific community as well. The third point is about novelty. Novelty is basically how innovative your research question is, and the best way to determine it is by a comprehensive literature review. Using research databases like PubMed, Medline Plus, Cochrane Library, and Google Scholar. However, you need to realize that a novel research question does not have to be completely original, meaning it can be the one which validates, contests, and broadens the previous findings. Also, you could choose any prior studies which have a controversial result or weak methodology, and you can have an opportunity to modify and refine them. The fourth point is about ethics. Now, make sure that your project meets the ethical standards of the research community, for which you will have to review and check the required ethical guidelines. Also, try getting an ethical approval prior to initiation of your study. The fifth point is relevance. The relevance of your study can be ensured if your research question has the potential of improving scientific knowledge, contributing to clinical and health policies, and guiding the future research. Now, taking into consideration the above explained point, here's an example which will help you to get a clearer idea. If you have a broad research topic in your mind, which could be related to women's health, what you could further do is narrow down your topic to maybe women's health and cancer. Further, what you could do in order to make your topic more precise and concise is put it up as development of cancer in women who smoke. Also, finally, you could formulate your own question, which could be stated as, is smoking associated with development of breast cancer in postmenopausal women? So that was all about the final criteria, which was suggesting us the general aspects of a research question. Now moving towards the Picot criteria, which stands for population, intervention, comparator, outcome, and time frame, and which proposes a more specific framework. The population is the problem or the subjects that will be addressed in your study. It is defined using relevant demographics like age, gender, geography, risk profiles, etc. The second point is intervention. Intervention stands for what will be provided to the enrolled subjects. The intervention of interest may apply to therapy, prevention, diagnostic testing, or any kind of exposure. The third point is comparator. The comparator stands for what your main intervention will be compared to. Example, it could be a gold standard. And the desirable properties of, the fourth point will be outcome, which corresponds to the main result the investigator plans to examine and assess. The desirable properties of a primary outcome include being more objective and reproducible, being clinically available, being easily quantifiable, and being sensitive and specific. Last but not the least, time frame. It is the time required to collect the data. Now, let's apply the Picot framework in a clinical scenario. You all must be aware of osteoarthritis, which is a chronic joint disease affecting the elderly patients worldwide and is a leading cause of musculoskeletal pain and impairment. The conservative management of osteoarthritic patients involves muscle strengthening. However, there is a research gap prevailing in understanding that do elderly patients benefit from low resistance or high resistance strength training? Now, in this medical context, the details which you need to take under consideration are what will be the outcome associated with muscle strengthening? What defines high and low strength training? At what age should the intervention be considered? And what are the potential harms that could be caused? The investigator should determine the answer to all these questions and get all the necessary information. In this specific clinical scenario, the investigator formulated the research question, which could be stated as in healthy individuals who are above 60 years of age, is high resistance strength training more effective than low resistance strength training in improving the muscle strength after 6 weeks? In healthy individuals who are above 60 years of age, this will be our population as per the PICOT criteria. The intervention will be high resistance strength training. The comparator will be low resistance strength training. Outcome will be improving the muscle strength, and the time frame will be the period of 6 weeks. With this, I'll come to the end of this discussion. To sum up, I'd like to highlight the checklist that you need to have in order to determine a good research question, which includes: is your research question something that you're curious about or that others might care about? Does your research question present an issue on which you can take a stand? Does your research question put a new spin on an old issue, or does it try to solve a problem? Does your research question, is your research question too broad or too narrow, or is it okay? And last but not the least, is your research question researchable within given time frame and resources available at your area?
Thank you, Kasturi.
Okay, so that is all the information that you'll be needing in order to increase the chances of developing a successful research project.
Thank you, Kasturi. That was indeed enlightening. I hope our participants will now find it easy to begin their research project right. Now we have with us Rohit. He's a final year MBBS student studying in BJGMC Pune. He's the co-founder of Jigyasa. He's the principal researcher on an ICMR approved project and has presented the same at national and international conferences. He has the Young Inventor Award, World Health Summit 2018, and the Best Emerging Researcher Award, AFMC Research Competition to his name. He has an ongoing research project with Tata Memorial Hospital as well. One of his projects is under the process of publication. Welcome, sir.
Hello everyone. My name is Rohit Pereira, and I would first like to thank the games organization for giving me a chance to present my topic here, which is choosing a guide, how to choose a guide. And okay, so let's begin with it. Let's start the topic, how to choose a guide. Now, first of all, I would like to talk about my research journey, which was determination of wastage of blood and blood products in tertiary hospital. Now, this was a topic taken in pathology, which was approved by ICMR and currently is in the process of publication. Now, whenever you're choosing a topic, there are two most important steps uh, in any research journey. First is choosing a topic. Well, Kasturi very well explained you the fine art criteria and the Picard criteria, which always will help you to choose a topic. And second is always choosing a guide. Now, if you ask me what are the ways to choose a guide, I would say it can be topic wise. Suppose if you like some topic, as in like say now today's time COVID or an HIV topic, which is to be researched yet. So topic wise, it will. So this is one of the way that topic wise you can choose a guide. Why I say that is because they are at master at your topic. Now in our college, one of the professor is very well equipped with a topic called of HIV, and she has published a lot of papers on that. So she is master of that topic. So she will guide you very well in that topic. She has an experience insight. Hence, whenever you choose a guide, you have to take this thing in your mind that whatever topic you're choosing, your teacher should have an experience insight in that topic. Second way is subject wise, which was what I use. My approach was subject wise. I always knew that I wanted to do something in pathology. Why? Because your teacher as a subject expert will know the gray areas in the subject where there is a lot of research which is needed to be done in that area. That is what my guide helped me in doing. In pathology, where everyone was saying that blood donation is so important, she found a gray area that all these blood donations are there, but then are they doing a quality control checkup was not done yet in any of the blood bank institutes. Hence, what my project was basically a quality control check of my own blood bank in our hospital, and that was a gray area which which my guide pointed out, which I chose as a topic. And third, a guide you could have a good rapport with a particular teacher, so it will always help you in better communication. So these are the three ways which I can divide, where you can choose a guide. Choose a topic wise, choose subject wise, or if you have a good rapport with the teacher, please go for it. Now, what are the points indicating to a perfect guide? Now, this might change for everyone. This is my personal view. Number one is supportiveness. The guide should always support you in your ideas and not, uh, decrease your enthusiasm towards the research project. Should always be supportive. Should be flexible with your ideas. Now, what do you mean by flexible is, suppose if you think that this is the way of approach that you would want to take, but then if the guide is not willing to, totally go with your approach and totally go opposite, that is not flexibility. She should be flexible enough so that, or he should be flexible enough so that you all can talk about the topic and then go further, as in you can plan the whole scenario and choose an approach which is perfect for both of you all. The guide should be easy to approach. Now, some professors are very busy with the academic and the administrative work. So I would always say a perfect guide should always be easy to approach. They should not be, totally in some of the other work where they can't give you enough time. They should have academic credentials, which means that they should themselves be principal researchers or principal authors of like many different research papers. They should have guided many PG students and obviously UG students in ICMR and different research projects. And mentorship. Now, every professor in your college is not necessarily going to mentor you for your ICMR project. The best way to know which teachers would is ask your college seniors who have done an ICMR project, who will help you and letting you know that this teacher is very well interested in the research project or this is not. So that will help. And last is ICMR guidelines, which says that the teacher or the professor should be of a certain rank and should be a permanent faculty member of the department or the college. Now, when to approach a guide? Should you approach a guide when you have a list of 1,000 topics in your mind, or the narrowed down one topic in your mind? What is the right approach? I would say there are two possibilities here. One is the person already knows what topic is there in your mind. Now, I am telling you, out of the whole population of the students applying for ICMR, I would say 10% of the students are only there who know their topic very well. But then too, you will need a help of a guide because you know the topic, which is at a broader aspect, which is needed, you need to pin it down. Hence, you always need a guide so that you don't hit the bull's tail, but hit the bullseye. And second, you have literally no idea what to do. Well, I was here in 90% category, which I just know that I wanted to do in pathology, but then I didn't know what to do. That's when your guide comes in. A guide will always give you that golden list of topics, which happened to me. She gave me the golden list of topics, out of which we fixed one topic, which was my topic, and then I did my own research on the topic, how important use the fine art criteria, the Picot's criteria, and then I was very well able to understand the topic myself well, so that I can do further research on. Now, what is expected from your guide? In what areas will your guide help you? Number one, she or he will give an experienced opinion. Number two, building connections. If I talk about building connections, she will help you in understanding the administrative process wherever. If you are going to take a topic which will require you to go to wards, interact with patients, interact with residents, he or she will help you build connections with these people who will help you in a very easier path towards your research journey. She or he will always help you to go about how to use research engines like PubMed, Google Scholar, because as I was very new in second year, I didn't know anything about research or about research engines. My guide helped me through how to use the PubMed, how to use the mesh terms in the PubMed, and then go about researching the journals. He or she will always be the backbone for your research project. You can always be carefree that your guide is always there for you in matter what situations, whatever troubles you face. You can always look back and see your guide is always there for you. He or she will always help you in writing a proposal. Now, writing a proposal for the ICMR submission is a very important step. Your guide will always help you and guide you in writing the proposal, give you important points, how to frame your proposal in a very systematic way, with including all the rules and regulations in it. As your guide is an expert, he or she will have a broad and deep insight of your own topic. Sometimes what happens is when you know the topic, you think you know the topic very well, but then you are at a very surface level. But your guide will have a broader horizon and have a deep insight on your topic, which will who will tell you the details which you are expected to know, or you have not found yet. So they will give you a broad and deep insight of your topic. They will always help you in proofreading. So most of the writing that you do in proposals, the introduction writing, the methodology writing, all the writing for report, to give your report or to give your proposal would be proofread by your guide very well, because you shouldn't have any mistakes regarding like anything, grammatical mistakes or anything. So they will always help you proofread it. And then lastly, they will always help you in competition. So I have faced a lot of competitions with my research project. So my guide has always helped me, not like only in my first competition, but all the 13, 14 competitions that I've been to, she has always helped me, refining our topic, refining our, PPT all the time, refining my script all the time. So she has always helped me in that. Now, what are the areas your guide can't help you? Number one is statistical analysis. Now, here is an exception saying that if your guide is from the PSM department, he or she will always help you in stats analysis, but not, true for everyone, right? So hence, I would always suggest you go and contact your PSM department, where there is a statistician, which will always help you in statistical analysis of your project, which is very much important. So I would say after choosing a topic, you have to go to a statistical like expert, and then he or she will tell you what should be your methodology for this topic. Second is data collection and Excel sheet preparation. Now, these two things are very important, and it is to be done by the student or the principal researcher, because your researcher, your guide would not be present at the data collection site, wherever it is. It is in the ward, it is in the register office or somewhere, and then also will not help you in making the Excel sheet preparation. Yes, if you are like you don't know how to do it in the first place, they'll help you in the starting point, but then not the whole process. It's up to you. You have to collect the data and make the Excel sheets. They will not help you physically write the report or proposal. In other words, they will not help you pin it down for you, the proposal or the report. It is you who have to write, and they will help you and guide you and proofread that. Time management, which is the most problematic thing for all the medical researchers. They have to balance their own time, considering your studies and research journey, as well as it's a journey. You will learn easily, but then don't expect your guide to prepare a time management schedule for you that you will follow and succeed. Last but not the least, ethics process. Now, ethics process is a very cumbersome process which requires a lot of documentation, submission, and everything. So it's a very huge process, but then your guide will help you, and if there are any problems, which I'll come in subsequent slides, but then he will not help you, or he will not help you in the the proper process of ethics, like taking all the documents and submitting to the ethics committee as well. Now, issues that you should be bringing in attention of your guide: ethical approval issues. Now, this literally gave nightmares to all of my batchmates, including me, where your ethics committee may not approve whatever you have written in the proposal, which you have submitted to the ICMR as well as your ethical committee. But then your guide here comes as a star, and I will always help you. And he or she will make the ethical committee understand what is the research and where is it coming from, which you are not in a position to do so. Data collection issues. If you have any issues in the word or in the site of data collection, if someone is not cooperating, you are not supposed to do anything but tell your guide. He or she will take care of it, and then you will obviously they will solve all the issues. Submission of report and proposal. Sometimes what happens is you don't submit your report and proposals always. We always think that yes, I would do it in time. I've always been that punctual, but sometimes there are these reasons that sometimes it doesn't work out. So what do? You tell your guide, because the guide has trained so many researchers there. He or she might know your solution for this problem. What are the do's and don'ts in while handling with your guide? The first most is always use we and I and not I. It is a research project of a team. It's actually a teamwork and not a one-man show. Your guide is always there for you, and you have to use proper pronouns like we and are. You have to always act professionally and maintain the respect between your guide and yourself. I know your guide would be a little bit friendly after spending so much time with you, but then you have to act professional and maintain your respect with them. Always prefer emails over WhatsApp for any meetings that you want to set up, and you want to send them important documents. Always prefer emails. This is the most important part, which is you have to know the guide schedule, because whenever you're approaching a guide, you can't waste your time sitting and waiting for the guide so that you can get a signature or proofread the document. You have to know your guide schedule early enough so that you can match the timings with your guide whenever he or she is free, and then accordingly go and get your work done. Well, that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Rohit, for sharing your experience and empowering us with yet another step of research.
Hello,
I'm
Aparna,
sorry.
you're mute, I guess.
I'm sorry. Thank you, Rohit, for sharing your experience and empowering us with yet another step of research. Now we have Samira. She's a final year MBBS student studying in DJGMC Pune. She has participated in various national and international conferences. She has 6 publications in her name. Welcome, ma'am.
Hi, Aparna. Thank you for such a kind introduction. Okay, so I will share my screen now. All right, I hope you can see my PPT.
Yes, we can.
Awesome. Okay. So, hi everyone. Welcome to this really useful webinar. I honestly wish we had something like this during our time. Nowadays, everything you want to know is available on the internet, and you can talk and reach anyone because of the digital outreach that we have. So, what I'm going to speak about today is protocol writing and referencing software. So before I get into it, you'll see my email address in the corner. That is for you to note down in case you have any questions that I'm not able to answer today. And in case you want to ask me absolutely anything about research, I'm more than open for questions about that. So do shoot me an email. All right. Now, what I'm going to tell you today about protocol writing is not a step-by-step, this is what you have to do, and then that's what you do next, and this is how you write it. Because honestly, that sort of thing, there's no set formula. And the purpose of today's talk on protocol writing is going to be to make you, first of all, understand how important it is and to stimulate curiosity. So let's go ahead. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is ask you guys a question. Do you know already what the benefits of writing a protocol are? And if you can put that up in the chat box, maybe I can have a look at it now or later. I'll give you a couple of seconds to really think about whether you know what the benefits are. Is it just submission to ICMR or any other research body, or is there more to it? Do we have anything coming in the chat box?
No, Samira, we do not have anything as of now. You can continue.
All right, okay, that's fine. So looks like either everyone's shy or people don't know. So that's fine, that's what I'm here for. Okay, so we'll get into this, or we'll come back to this question at the end. So we'll see if you guys can answer it then, all right? So what is a protocol? A protocol, the definition, which I got from Google, is a system of rules that explains the correct conduct and procedures to be followed. So a protocol can be applied anywhere. And in research, it basically means your guidebook in which you will follow throughout your research, okay? So it forces the researcher to plan every step. That reduces errors. So it's about planning and it's about following a set of rules. Now, have you ever played Monopoly without knowing the rules? It's like conducting a research project and trying to win at the research project or getting your results. And imagine if you played Monopoly without knowing the rules, then it's like trying to win without knowing you had to collect property. So if you try to conduct research without actually knowing the rules and what you're going to do and the step-by-step process, you're going to end up making a lot of mistakes at the end of it. So that's one of the first benefits. Now, yes, now these are the contents of a protocol. Just a disclaimer of sorts, this isn't a set rule. What I mean by that is not every time when you submit your protocol to a research organization will it follow this particular format. It's going to be different based on the preferences of that research body. So don't note this down if you are taking notes and say this is what you're going to follow. Just try to understand the meaning of each section so you can apply it to the format that you have to follow ultimately. Okay, so let's get into the first one, title. Now, the title, okay, is basically you're going to tell them what you're studying. Okay, the what, the who, and the where. So what means, what are you going to study? For example, like the example that I've given below, you might want to study the effects of apples on women. So that is the what. Now the who is the women, right? Because you're going to be studying women, and the where is in Western Maharashtra, a hospital-based study. So just to repeat, the title needs to have the what, the who, and the where. Okay. Now, if we go ahead, we'll move on to introduction. So let me get into a story here. When I conducted my first research in second year, I went ahead and said, okay, I want to do this for ICMR, which means I started thinking about it in Jan. And I said, okay, what I'll do is I'll get the methodology properly, the aims and objectives. I'll throw in a random introduction, put in some references, and I'll submit it. And well, obviously that didn't get accepted because I didn't understand the importance of the introduction at that point. I didn't realize how people actually do read the introduction. So when you're submitting your proposal or protocol to a research body, they're going to fund you. That's the purpose of doing that, right? So they don't, although you know what your research project is all about and why you are doing it, you need to be able to convey that. That's one thing. The second is when you actually write the introduction, like how I've mentioned here, you'll actually realize that you'll end up performing the literature review properly, and you don't get lazy and don't leave it for later. So you do the literature review and you really understand the following points. So what you need to convey in your introduction is why is studying this so important? Meaning you need to tell them why conducting this particular research is necessary in today's time. For example, if you wanted to study the effects of apples on women, then maybe apples in women have a lot of adverse effects, and there are 10,000 cases of these adverse effects in a year. That becomes a reason why it's important to study this. The next is, what do we already know? So through your literature review, you'll find out what does the medical community or whatever community you are part of already, what do they already know about this topic? Next is when you know what is known, you'll identify the gaps. You'll know what is missing. So knowing this will sort of allow you to put your research into these gaps. So you'll be able to tell them how you conducting this research is going to fill in those knowledge gaps, which is one of the most important things in your research. It tells the person reading your proposal why doing this is so important and necessary. So that's a short thing about introduction. And if we move on to the next section, that's your aims and objectives. Now there's a cool acronym you can use to remember this. The SMART acronym is the criteria that are necessary to make your aims and objectives more meaningful. Okay, so S stands for specific, which means you cannot be general in your aims. You can't say, I want to study the effects of apples on women. But what do you mean? I mean, are you going to study 10,000 apples on women, or are you going to study the effects, meaning the ophthalmological effects, or effects on mood, or effects on a particular other aspect of health? That needs to be specific. When you are specific with your aim, it will also tell the person reading your protocol that you know what you are talking about. Now, the next is measurable. So that's pretty obvious, right? Measurable means you should be able to quantify it. So if you're studying the effects of apples on women, maybe you're choosing vitamin A deficiency. So you can actually quantify the level of off-town side effects that do happen when you don't have vitamin A. And the next, achievable. Now, this means that don't go for something that you cannot do or that is out of your scope. You can judge this based on how many people you have in your team, or how much time you actually have available, or how many resources you have on hand. Relevant means you need to be able to apply the findings of your research to the current scenario, or to some health problem that needs to be solved, or to the people that you are studying. It needs to make sense, basically. And finally, time-based, which means you basically need to have a time scale or a time plan where you're going to start here and you're going to end here. It doesn't continue indefinitely, or it doesn't begin at a time that is not specified. Now, finally, we come to methodology, which is something, honestly, people do know a little bit about already. It's one of the first things that people tend to write when they're writing their proposal, although it's not the best thing to do. When you're writing a proposal, as I mentioned, talking about the introduction is, or writing about the introduction is what you should do first, and then come on to the methodology. Now, 4 things that you do have to have in a methodology are your study design, which means is your study a cross-sectional study where you're going to study your people in a particular period of time, or is it a cohort? Then you need to identify your subjects, meaning whom are you going to study, what age group, what ethnic group, what sex, what profession. It really depends, but you need to properly elucidate what your subjects are going to be. Next is your sample size, which you calculate, and someone needs to mention the formula in the chat box, so I'll leave that up to you. There's the name of a formula. Don't give me the formula actually, because I don't remember that either. But if you can name the formula, that would be great. But you use that formula to calculate your sample size, and then you collect that sample size. Now, collection, you need to tell them how you are going to collect it. So there are different methods of sample size collection. Maybe you choose a convenient sampling method, or you choose actual randomization. So that needs to be mentioned clearly. And finally, your data collection tools. So how are you planning to collect your data? How are you going to do it? You can say that I want to collect the lab values in a patient, but what are you going to use to collect that? Or are you going to take a questionnaire and then get people to tick or answer when you go and approach them? Are you going to conduct an interview? So these are different methods in which, or tools that you use to collect your data. So that needs to be mentioned as well. Now, at the end of this particular section, in case you haven't noticed already, once you're done writing up to the methodology, you'll actually find yourself during your research project going back to your proposal or protocol. You keep going back to see, okay, what in the introduction, what did I mention were the knowledge gaps? Or you'll keep going back to the methodology. What was my sample size? Or whom am I trying to perform this research on? So it serves as a guide throughout your research project. It's your manual. And another important thing is that if you're not doing it alone, you're doing it in a team. It becomes very easy to communicate to your team about exactly what needs to be done when you have a proper protocol written down. Okay. Now, for the last couple of sections that I've written here, data analysis basically means stats, statistics. What tests are you going to use, and how are you going to analyze your data? And this, a statistician will help you out, so don't worry. I would advise, if you're not very well versed with statistics, I would definitely advise you to approach a statistician. Not only will he help you analyze your data, but he in fact will help you form your methodology, even your introduction, your aims and objectives. So when you approach a statistician well in time, even before you write your protocol, you'll find that a lot of experience from a statistician's perspective will come through in your research, and that'll help you a lot. Now, implications. So implications, sometimes it is required, sometimes it's not. ICMR asks for implications. Now, an in-depth video on implication writing is present on the Jignasa page, so you can watch that. But in short, implication writing is basically, what do your research findings imply to the general population? So how will your project benefit others? Or the ways in which findings of your research will affect policymaking, clinical practice, theoretical knowledge, and future research. So those who have already maybe read a couple of papers will find that towards the end of the discussion, often it's written, future research needs to be done in this area and that area to find out more. So that is a part of implications that often comes. So finally, we have references. But before we get into references, I'm going to give you a couple of seconds to think about it again. The reason why I keep going back to this, benefits of writing a protocol, is when I first started conducting my research, I didn't know how important protocol writing actually was. And for example, in second year, when I conducted my first research project, I ended up thinking, okay, I have an idea. I got very excited. I wanted to do it ASAP. I approached my guide, did all of those things, ethics committee approval, and I wrote my methodology down. This is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to do it. And I started collecting data. And about 30 patients into collecting my data, I realized, hold on, I need to collect another lab value, a different lab value, because research or literature shows us that this one isn't as important. Or I realized that there were certain things that I could have added to make my research a lot better. And so although my research project was good, not bad, but there were so many errors that I made that could have definitely just been avoided if I would have just written my protocol down very clearly from the start. So now that I have given you sufficient time to think about the benefits, let's have a look. So yes, now, as I mentioned, I'll walk you through this slide. So it will help to organize your own mind and your thoughts and ideas. We often, our head, if you have a research bug, you've been bitten by the research bug, then you're going to be thinking about how you're going to do it and how much you're going to make an impact on this world if you perform it in a certain way. But you're going to have a lot of thoughts swimming around. Writing this down, making it, very clear on paper will help organize your own mind. Now, the next is it actually will force you to think of things that will make your study more meaningful. It'll refine your study. It also acts as a guide throughout your research project, and it allows you to review your research from all angles. That helps you minimize errors. And finally, if you're working in a team, it'll allow for easy communication. Okay, so now to the final part of this lecture, referencing software. And honestly, it's my favorite part. I didn't know about referencing software when I did my first couple of papers. So what I would do was I would write my paper and I would add citations and add the long bibliography at the end with, let's say, 10 plus references. And about a couple of days later, I realized, okay, in the middle, I want to add this sentence here. I want to add this reference here, which meant that I had to change the entire order because I did everything manually. Or sometimes I would submit it to a journal, which would get rejected, and then I'd have to submit it to another one. But different journals have different formatting requirements. So the manual text that I had entered in the referencing, I had to manually change that, which when you have 5 references, it's okay, 10 manageable. When you have 30 references, that becomes a lot. So that's where referencing software comes in. It does all of this for you automatically. So, right, so these are the 3 most well-known referencing software available. There's Mendeley, there's the Z is for Zotero, and then there's EndNote. Now, Mendeley and Zotero are free. And a good friend of mine uses Mendeley and she's very happy with that. And I use Zotero and I'm equally happy. If you want a comparison between the two, do check the video that I mentioned earlier out because I have given pros and cons between the two. But for today, I will be focusing on Zotero because that's what I use. So I am well versed with that. Now, so this is a screenshot of my Zotero library. So it's quite full because I've added a lot of references to write in my paper. But if you're new to this, if you've never used Zotero before, yours is going to be empty. And so what you really can do with Zotero is you can add sections here, files, which will open up a section. So you can choose files based on which paper you are reading. Add these references here, which you enter manually. So if you can see this tiny button here, when you click on that, it will ask for a DOI of the paper. You just put that number in, and all of the details of the paper come up automatically. It pulls it up off of the internet on its own. So you can see the type of journal article and the name, the authors, everything is written there on its own. So you don't have to sit and type that up. So once you've created your library, so what you do is you add all your references, like you're collecting it in a bucket, you add all of them beforehand. And then this is a test document that I've opened on my Word to show you. What you do is you add in your references in your research paper. So when you download Zotero for the first time, it will walk you through the process of installing Zotero on your desktop. So it will automatically add itself into the top bars you can see over here. It'll add itself at the end here. And when you click on that, it'll open this bar below, and you'll see add citation or add a bibliography and things like that. So when you click on the add citation, it will open up your library that I showed earlier, and you can select the reference that you want to add in that particular place, and it'll do it automatically. And once you're done entering your references wherever you want in your paper, you just click on add bibliography and the entire list comes up. Now, if you want to add something in the middle, all you have to do is add it in the middle, and it'll rearrange all of your references automatically, which is basically great. So yes, that is a short introduction to referencing software. There's a lot more about it. And honestly, if you type on YouTube how to use Zotero, you'll find these 30-minute long videos telling you exactly how to do it. But the purpose of me talking to you about this right now is to, well, first of all, tell you something like that exists, so don't do donkey work. And second is to make you aware of the different types. So yes, thank you very much. I hope I have added to your knowledge and you've learned something here today.
Thank you, Samira, for helping us understand these essential aspects of research projects. So, our last speaker for the evening is Avanika. She's a final year MBBS student studying in BJGMC Pune. She is the principal researcher of an ICMR approved project and has presented the same at many national and international conferences. Welcome, ma'am.
Hi, I'll just share my screen. Am I audible and is my PPT visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. Hi, my name is Avnika Sane and I'm a final year MBBS student at BJGMC Pune. Thank you, Games. I am honored to be here. Now, before we begin, I'd like to give a disclaimer. This is simply for the benefit of medical and dental undergraduates in India, and I am in no way a voice for the Indian Council of Medical Research. But all the information provided in the upcoming slides has been taken off of their official website itself. So you can visit it for more details. Now, let's jump into it. The ICMR STS program stands for the Indian Council of Medical Research's short-term studentship program. Now, the objective of ICMR is to provide an opportunity to UG medical students, and for the last couple of years, dental students as well, to familiarize themselves with research methodology and techniques. Now, what's their purpose behind it? They wish to provide a platform for students to take this up and thus provide an incentive to take up research as a career and contribute to the healthcare of the nation in the future. So what are the advantages to the student? Well, there are plenty. Firstly, as I said earlier, it helps you become a better doctor and practice evidence-based medicine. Secondly, it's also very useful for your PG programs in India, wherein, I'll continue. Secondly, it's also very useful for your PG programs in India, wherein the MD thesis is a compulsory activity. And having done research during your undergraduate days definitely gives you a research-oriented perspective. Thirdly, they provide a grant of Rs 20,000 if the report gets accepted. And lastly, it looks great on your CV. There's one thing I'd like you guys to note here. is that the costs of the research must be borne by the medical or dental college where the research is being conducted. So the grant is more like a token of appreciation. It isn't per se a funding for your research. I will come to the implications of this in just a bit. So now let us move on to the eligibility criteria. This program is only for MBBS or BDS students studying in medical or dental colleges before they appear for their final year exams. So interns and PG students are not allowed to apply. Your guide, as Rohit mentioned earlier, has to be a permanent faculty member of the college where you study. This means visiting or part-time faculty members or even residents cannot be your guide. Some very important things to note here are that firstly, only one student will be allowed to work under one guide. Also, two or more students are not permitted to work on the same topic together. Thus, the dictum is one topic, one student, one guide. However, there's an exception here. A student can have co-guides. For example, if the topic was knowledge of antimicrobial resistance among surgeons, you can choose your main guide to be a pharmacology professor and a co-guide to be a surgery professor. But mind you, ICMR only recognizes one main guide for all practical purposes. And in case duplicate names of students or guides are found, all such applications will be automatically rejected. So please keep this in mind. Okay, so next up is the timeline of STS. I know this can look really intimidating at first, so let me walk you through it. Just a couple of more things before we move on. The timeline for 2019-2020 has naturally been an exception due to the unprecedented COVID-19 crisis. Initially, they had decided to push the dates forward by just 2 months in view of the pandemic, but considering that medical colleges are still shut in places, they have scrapped that, and a recent notice on the website says that fresh guidelines and fresh timelines will be issued soon. So, if you are a student whose STS proposal was accepted in May 2020, I'd recommend you keep checking the website regularly. And the timeline for STS proposal submission for 2020-2021 will not be commenced until STS 2020 report submission is completed. So again, keep looking out for updates. Now, let's start with this timeline from the left. The online registration is to be done between approximately 10th December and 10th Jan, although this may vary a little bit. After that is the online STS proposal and application form submission, which is open for about 2 to 3 weeks, usually from 10th to 25th Jan. But please note, these dates keep fluctuating, so I would advise everyone to visit the website for dates applicable to that particular year. Now, these applications are evaluated by ICMR, and perhaps based on a scoring system, these applications are ranked, and every year a certain number of proposals get selected. The list of selected applicants is usually released on the website in the month of April. Now, before I move forward, the Ethics Committee approval, which is crucial before beginning any research, must be obtained anytime between January and April. But mind you, it should not be dated after 31st August of that year. Now, once you know that your proposal has been accepted, you are expected to complete your research in any 2 months between April to September and prepare a detailed report. The completed STS report is to be submitted online between August and October. The reports are again reviewed by ICMR between October and January, and by Feb, they announce the final results for the STS reports that have been accepted. This is followed by dispatch of the stipend and certificate by around June and October, respectively, for all the reports that get approved by ICMR. One tip I'd like to give here is to choose topics that do not require a lot of monetary funding, so that just in case your proposal doesn't get accepted, you can always go ahead and conduct your research comfortably. Moving on, we have submission of the STS application, which is a two-step process. Step 1 is the registration of the student details, that is, Part A of the online form. And Step 2 is submission of the application or proposal along with other details, that is, Part B, C, and D of the online form. The forms shown in the upcoming slides have all been taken from right here. So I won't be going into the details of every aspect of Part A of the form. I will simply highlight some important points. The registration form is divided into three sections: login details, course details, and personal details. Kindly note that the guide's details, the title of the proposal, and other details are not required at the time of registration. So this form can be filled in anytime between 10th December and 10th January, even before you have finalized your guide, your research topic, etc. Now, once you click the submit button, a password and a reference ID will be generated automatically and will be sent to the student via email. Never ever lose this reference ID because this will be required for any future communications with ICMR. After you register, you now need to find a guide and work on writing your STS proposal. Once you're done with that, you can now move to step 2, which is Part B. Part B includes complete details of the guide. Next is Part C. Here are the various attachments or enclosures. These include the application attestation form, the ethics committee approval, informed consent form, case study form, and study questionnaire. The AAF, or the application attestation form, is extremely important during application submission, and your proposal will not get accepted without it. All the other enclosures here are optional. Due to time constraints, I will not be able to explain each of these, but our research club Jignasa has uploaded a similar video on STS ICMR on our YouTube channel, wherein I have explained a bit about each of these forms. So you could visit it later for more details. Part D. This is where you finally upload your STS proposal. As you can see, procuring your guide's details, filling the application attestation form, which requires quite a few signatures, by the way, is definitely going to take time. So make sure you do this prior to the deadline. Do not wait for the last day to submit your application because the website always gets clogged and they never extend the deadline. Details once submitted cannot be edited, so make sure you check your form thoroughly. Also, please note that you don't need to do your research before you submit your proposal. You just need to inform ICMR that you wish to conduct a research project and that this is your plan. After you finally submit your application, ICMR takes about 2 to 2.5 months to declare the results, and in the meanwhile, you could complete your ethics work. After acceptance of the proposal, you need to do your actual research, write the entire report, and submit it by October of that year. Upon acceptance of the report, you receive the stipend and certificate of merit within 6 to 8 months after that, as discussed earlier. This is another question we get all the time, so I thought I would address it. ICMR STS is not the only way to do research, rather ICMR only provides an incentive to do it. If your proposal doesn't get accepted, please do not be disappointed. This does not make your research idea worthless or insignificant. You can always continue the research and ultimately have similar opportunities in terms of publications and competitions as your peers who completed their STS. What truly matters here is your dedication and perseverance. I believe there are other research organizations who do provide stipends, so you can definitely look into it. I think a link has been provided on our Instagram page of Jignasa. However, if you still desperately wish to do the STS, you can always reapply next year with either the same project or with a different project. This is also an option if you end up missing the deadline for your application and proposal submission in January. But mind you, it will not be given any special preference and will be treated as a fresh or new application. I would definitely recommend you guys to go back and have a look at the entire STS website and especially their FAQs because they provide a lot of useful information. In case of any further doubts, please feel free to contact me via email. I've mentioned my ID and I will be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you, Avnika. I hope many participants will now be well informed to apply for ICMR STS. I would once again thank all our speakers for addressing us today. We have some queries from our participants, so let's move to the question answer round, which will be dealt by Mridula. Over to you, ma'am.
Hi, am I audible here?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so hi everyone, I'm Mridula. So first of all, I would like to thank all of our speakers today. It was an absolutely wonderful session, and I know because I am also starting out as a researcher, so it has helped me a lot in a lot of ways. So I am pretty sure that it helped a lot of our viewers as well. So I'd like to start with asking some of the questions that were put up in the live chat box. So firstly, Avanti Kumari, I'm sorry if I pronounce anybody's name wrong. I'm just trying my best. All right. So Avanti Kumari asks, and this is for Kasturi. So you
Yes.
mentioned researchability of a topic, right? Could you explain what you mean by researchability?
So research ability or research skills means intensive research or intensive investigation related to your research question. So I had explained in details about the research question, for which, in order to determine the good qualities of research questions, we use the finer criteria and the Picot criteria. So if you want to have further details about the Picot and Finer criteria, you could just rewind back into the video and get all the details so that it would be easy for you to have a clear idea about what research ability exactly means. Yeah, I guess that would be fine. Avanti, if you're satisfied, you could just put up a thumbs up, or if you're not, then you could just elaborate on your question again.
Yeah, all right. So maybe you could just summarize it a bit for them again so that it is easier for them right now.
Okay. Okay, so researchability, the primary thing that you need to take under consideration is your research question. So the quality of your research question is determined using the finer criteria and the Picot criteria. And the finer criteria stands for feasibility, interest, novelty, ethics, and relevance, whereas the Picot criteria gives a specific framework and stands for population, intervention, comparator, outcome, and time frame of your study. So if you have these basic concepts clear in your head, you could have a really smooth start, and further you can just apply whatever Samira said, Rohit said, and Avnika said in your research journey to have a really successful research project.
All right, I think that'll help. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
All right,
Yeah.
so I'll take the next question from Aarti. And this question was particularly for Rohit. So, sir, you talked about the way you conducted a lot of researches. So, the question here was that how did you manage academics and research alongside? Because that is something that the medical UG students struggle with a lot. So, if you could talk about that.
Yeah, so I always get these questions about how to balance your research as well as your academics. Well, I would say two things. One is prioritize whatever you need. Like if at that moment of time you need your research to be the priority, please go for it. And if that moment of time your academics is need to be, it's you need that as a priority, you go for it. And second, prepare a very like day-to-day basis of time schedule with all the things in the time schedule which will help you in separating your academics and your research work. Normally what all students do is they jumble up, like when they need to do research, they don't do only that, but they will also include their academics in between. That is not how I went about it. I always separated my research with my academics. If this is the time I'm permitting for academics, I will permit it at that time. And if this is the time I'm giving to for research, I will solely give it for research. So separating both of them, preparing a timetable, and prioritizing is the key which I used always.
So the bottom line here is that we have examples of people who have actually done it. So which means it cannot be impossible,
Yeah.
right? So it's just about
See, nothing is,
prioritizing your time. Right.
yeah, nothing is impossible. You
Yeah,
just
please go
have to
on.
go for it and then work towards it. So basically, your sincerity and your perseverance is what will matter at the end. And I know if I have done it, if my friends have done it, then I'm sure that y'all can also do it.
Exactly. So, as a follow-up question, if I could ask, have you ever faced a problem of attendance in your college because of these research projects? Because for some people, I know here that it is a very, very genuine concern because the colleges don't allow you to skip classes.
Okay, so it depends upon college to college. I can only talk about my experience because every college has different protocol for and different percentage for attendance. But in our college, yes, we have a particular mark of attendance. I would always use my time after the college when I am like, okay, I'm done for the day. I don't have anything else to do. I can't study now because I am all worn out of the all the classes and the clinics. Then that is the time I use for my research. And yeah, so after the college is mostly the time I use for research. And yeah, it's important to attend college as well. You need that percentage so that you are able to apply for the university. But then yes, please don't skip your college and classes.
All right, so moving on with the practicality aspect of research itself for undergraduate medical students, there was a question by Avanti Kumari again. That is fourth year too late to start with the research project? This
May
wasn't
I answer
like,
this?
yeah, you can take it, sure.
If that's okay with everyone?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, right. So actually, my ICMR got accepted in final year. That's one thing. And all of the publications I have I conducted them this year. 2020 is when I did. Now, yes, there was a lot of time on hand, but I also had to manage final year studies. So to answer your question, there's never no time. There is never no time. What's important to understand is that if you want to do something, you will find the time to be able to do it. It might get hard. You might have to cut off on Netflix a little bit or going out a little bit, but that's okay because it's worth it if you're motivated enough to do it. So if you're in final year and you feel bad because you didn't get into the research world before, don't use that as don't think that you've missed your chance or you've missed the train. It's not true. Just go for it, and I'm sure you will succeed. Or if you don't succeed in terms of getting a publication, you will still learn so much. Is just absolutely worth it. So definitely go ahead.
Right, thank you. So, as a follow-up to that question, there was another question by Anmol, and he asked that is there an ideal MBBS year to start research? Like, would you say a in second year you should start researching in first year, fourth year, whenever it is?
Okay, so ideally, if I suppose this is subjective, but according to me, ideally, once you've gained some knowledge about PSM, or you invest time in second year when there's a lot of time to educate yourself about the types of studies and things like that, that would be ideal. So second year and third minor are two ideal years in which it can be done. From the perspective of final year, quite a lot of studies to do. First year, you're newbies, you don't really know much. However, I would still say that there is no ideal time, because let's say you do conduct research in first year, you will gain so much experience. If you do it in first year, you do it in second year, you do it in third year, you will have so much experience by the time you pass out of MBBS. So starting early, really good. Starting late, you start in final year, you're still gaining that experience. So there is no ideal time per se, but from a studies perspective and a time management perspective, I would say maybe second and third minor.
That was really good. Thank you. So we'll
Uh,
move on to a yeah.
if I can add in a little bit of like points in Samira's answer,
Right.
I would say that everyone, like the students in first year who come up to me and say, "Ki, wow, can I start in first year because I don't know anything?" For me, always research has been a part where it's that time I, understand the particular concept. It's never been for me that I have known the concept very well before and then I have started my research journey. So research has been, just a platform for me to study and analyze whatever comes in my way. If I don't know a particular system, as far as as Samira said, you have to know PSM, but good, to tackle the methodology part. It's true, but then for me, if I don't know, I will learn it first, and then I will go for tackling the situation. So please don't get discouraged that if you don't know anything, if you don't know it, learn it, and then go forward. That's it. That's my answer.
Yeah, so even when I started out, I used to think that how can one possibly conduct good research at an undergraduate level because we don't know anything about medicine right now. But then as I explored, I realized that most people who are doing research do not really know about everything, right? Because we just can't know about it. So the only way to go about it is you actually learn along the way, and that helps a lot. So Rohit, we'll go on with a question for you because you were asked before. Just a second. All right, wait. So first I'll ask this question that there was a question by Shubham Madan. He's asking that can writing review articles help boost your CV? Anybody who would like to take that?
I think Apnika should take it because she's written a literature review before, so I think she'd be able to answer that one.
All right.
I am not sure whether the person in the chat box is talking about a systematic review or a literature review, but I think hence Samira might be able to answer the question better.
Okay, let's play badminton while we're at it, shall we? Okay, so yes, if you're talking from a CV perspective, it depends on whom you're going to give the CV to. If you're giving it to, let's say, the UK, then there is actually a point system where they score that particular research item based on the level of evidence of that research, which means a literature review has a lower level of evidence than a systematic review. Therefore, you'll get lower points. But if you're maybe, I'm not too sure, I could be wrong, but I think the US does not have a system like this, a scoring system. So it depends on the person who's looking at your CV. But overall, if you had to choose between doing a systematic review and a literature review, do a systematic review because it will add more to your CV, but doesn't mean that doing a literature review isn't going to add anything. It's really good for your CV, but a systematic review might be better. That's what I would say.
All right, thank you for that. So, Rohit, there was this question by Cheshtha Dengri. She asks that if I'm unable to find a guide in my college, so how do I then proceed? It's just absolutely not happening. I can't find a single person who's able to do research with me. So, how do I go about it now?
Well, I also don't have a particular answer for this question. As in, like, what are the problems is she facing? All the guides have been, like, she has to elaborate. All the guides have been, booked. That because only of the rule of one guide, one student, or like there are no other. I don't know. She has to elaborate the question more.
All right. So from experience, maybe I can tell you that not all medical colleges have a lot of undergraduate researchers, right? So and there's no culture of undergraduate research in a lot of colleges, especially the medical colleges. So in that case, it becomes extremely difficult to find a guide because the professors might be overburdened. They're not willing to work with them, and the SRs and PGs they themselves are not very well versed with the procedure. So in that case, how do you go about it? Like, can you find guides beyond your college, or could you do something like that?
Yeah, so if you talk about that scenario, yes, you can find guides outside. But then, if you are planning to do an ICMR, there is a hurdle because it says that the guide should be a permanent faculty member. For just doing the research, then you can choose a guide from another institute as well. As I am doing with the Tata Institute, my guide is the ethics committee head of that institute, and then I am under her working at a project. And so the whole system of ethics approval and everything would be pertaining to the guide which is in that institute level and not in my college. So to clear the idea, if you're choosing the guide from another like another college or another institute, you have to go according to their protocol and their rules, but you can do it.
All right. So she mentions in the live chat that these people are not supportive. So like they keep delaying. They keep just saying that they'll help, but they're never helping. So what do you do in that case?
Yeah, so if you're if you are, so it's better than it's better if you are planning for a research, then you can skip ICMR. ICMR is not everything. If you want to do research, please do research. Don't be withheld because of this scenario. Choose some teachers that from other colleges which are willing to, and then apply for that, and then you can go about in that scenario rather than year, because you have to, as one of the points I mentioned, the guide should be approachable enough. He or she should not be always busy or not show any interest. If that's the case, then basically you have to choose someone else.
So moving on with that same thought of like going beyond the ICMR, could you please suggest some other platforms where medical students can conduct research apart from ICMR?
I guess
Anybody can take that
Avnika
question.
would be, Avnika would be in a better position to answer this.
Can
Hi.
I?
Is Manali answering?
Yeah,
Okay,
should
great.
I?
Perfect. Yeah.
Sure.
Please go
Okay.
ahead.
So, yeah, ICMR is not the only platform. There are many other competitions actually where you can, give your abstract, submit your abstract. So there is, like, if your college is MUHS affiliated, so MUHS has this opportunity, like MUHS gives us MUHS short-term studentship. MUHS का भी होता है. Then they have this thing known as Anveshan. Anveshan is like according to the zones. There is one, like we have put it. We have put information regarding it on our Insta page. Then MUHS again offers Avishkar competition, and it is also one of the big platforms where you could present your research. Basically, you have to submit your abstract, and if it gets selected, then you'll be competing with various MUHS affiliated college, like inter college basically. So that is one platform. Then if you're looking for research opportunities, like in terms of internship type or going somewhere and learning about it, so there are Indian Academy of Sciences like Bangalore and all these places where they offer you a short, like for I think 4 to 5 months you have to go there, and they, like, you have to tell them what you're interested in, submit your CV, and if you get selected, they call you there, and they assign you to a guide, and you have to work under that particular guide. So that opportunity is there as well. So like these, there are many opportunities, and of course you can present at various conferences. So yeah, if you need more information, you can go to our Insta page. We've put up all the research opportunities there. You can visit our page and check it out. And if you have doubts, you can always DM us or email us, anything.
Avnika, would you like to add to that? Is there anything that is left?
No, I think Manali has sufficiently covered all the details about that. So
Right.
nothing to add.
So the bottom line here is that everybody who does not follow the Jignasa page on Instagram, please do that. It is very resourceful when it comes to research. So yeah, please do that. All right, so we'll move forward with the next question, and this one is for Samira, and this is from Avnika Jain. She asks, could you please elaborate a bit about your experience publishing your research articles?
Okay, sure. So experience is a bit of it's a broad term, so I'll try to summarize it. So when you try to publish to a journal, the first thing that you need to do is choose the journal you want to publish to. So I'm assuming you're at the stage in which you're done with your research. You have your paper written already, and you want to choose the journal. So make sure it's PubMed index. Make sure it has a good impact factor. If you don't know what this means, look it up, because that's too much of detail for this. But essentially, you need to choose the right journal and basically follow the steps. So every journal will tell you exactly how they want you to submit your paper to them. They'll tell you the format, sometimes they tell you the font size as well. They tell you the reference list, the format that you need to do for that. So it's really as simple as following those instructions. But the only thing is the instructions are quite detailed. So you need to read it over and over again to make sure you followed each one. Then you submit your paper to them, and it goes under a process of peer review, which means that they will then appoint people from the field of relevance that are not part of their journal. And they will look at your paper, point out the mistakes, tell you where things need to be changed. So it's a form of discussion that spreads over a couple of weeks, and finally your paper will get accepted or rejected. So that that is your peer review process. And then, then your paper, once they say it's accepted, then it's up to them. Then they will publish it. It'll come on their website and in their journal and everything like that. So that is, I hope I've answered your question. If it was something different, please do let me know.
Maybe you could also talk about how you were rejected sometimes and how do you actually ensure that you're getting your article published? Because I know it can be tough to actually get accepted. So how do you go about that?
So I had no idea I didn't know the peer review process. I didn't know that when you submit to a journal, there's just so much you have to think about. You tend to think that once you're done with your research, your job is done. I'm done writing my paper and then that's it. But the actual submission to the journal also does take quite a lot amount of your time and effort, energy. So when I first submitted to the first journal, it didn't even go through the peer review process. They don't tell you why. It just doesn't. But what you do after that is then you review your paper. And what happened to one of our papers is that we actually changed the title of our paper because it got rejected from like 3 journals. And then we said, okay, something is majorly wrong with this. Maybe our message isn't coming across. So we changed the title. Then we went through the entire thing. But don't get disheartened. When it gets rejected from a journal, you tend to think maybe my paper isn't good enough. One of the papers that I submitted that was extremely successful got rejected from the first journal I submitted it to because I had crossed the word count. That's really why I got rejected. So don't feel like your paper isn't good enough. It is, you just need to either find the right journal or you need to refine your paper a little bit.
That's all right. So on that same train of thought, so is getting rejected from the ICMR, does that mean that your research idea was bad or your protocol was bad, or like how? What do you? Yeah, I can see all the faces, but I'm sure they're not able to see it on the YouTube live platform. So yeah, I would want maybe Avnika to elaborate on it a bit. Like exactly how does the ICMR selection process work? I'm sure you don't know all about it, but like does that mean that your research idea was bad in any case?
Okay, so just to answer that, firstly, just to answer that in one word, it's a plain no. That is not true. So what happened to me is that I submitted my first proposal in second year, and that one got rejected. And I was quite disheartened. But something that I learned from that is it's not that ICMR's process of selecting applications and shortlisting applicants is completely wrong or stupid. It's not like that. There's usually some or the other reason as to why certain applicants get selected and certain don't. So it's not wise to just think, oh, okay, like it didn't get selected. I was just bad luck, is also not the right way to go, because I introspected onto why my research perhaps didn't get selected. Was maybe I didn't have the best topic around, or I hadn't clarified my subject area properly, or my methodology was not properly set. So it's more like a gray area where your project is not completely bad and neither is your project absolutely perfect and has got rejected for no absolute reason. So if your proposal does get rejected, you do need to think about it a bit. But if you do come to a conclusion that your project looks decent, or your topic, your proposal, everything is in place, then you should definitely move forward, because it can happen. There are too many people who submit their applications to ICMR every year, and some applications just won't get selected. So yeah, I think that would be my answer to the question.
All right, so thank you for that. There's another question about the ICMR project. So if we once complete our ICMR project, can we then go on to publish it in some journal? Will that be accepted as sufficient evidence?
Of course, yeah. So I believe, I'm not sure if I'm entirely correct, but I think you have to wait till ICMR approves your report and everything is done and dusted from their side, and you get your certificate and stipend, and then you can move forward publishing wherever you want. But they have mentioned on their website specifically that you should provide due credit to ICMR for having provided you this kind of stipend. It's just always nice to appreciate the people who fund your research, who provide you with a grant or a stipend. So that's about it. Other than that, you're open to publishing wherever you want. There's just no restriction whatsoever.
All right, thank you for that. So there's a question by Shamama, and she asked that she's from a new medical college, which is relatively like it is not well established. So does that harm her chances of actually progressing with research in any way? Is there like are there some drawbacks to being affiliated with a newer college, which has probably less resources? And then maybe how would you go about like overcoming those obstacles?
Who is this question to?
Okay, so this question was not for anybody. So anybody can take this question. Anybody who's comfortable with it probably has an answer.
Should I go ahead? Or
Yeah,
yeah?
sure.
Okay. All right. So I would say perhaps if you have less patience, and that means you have either less people to study forwards, observe, or you have less patient records to go back and look at, that might mean that you have less data to collect. But having a new medical college doesn't mean that, let's say ICMR is going to look at your college, say it's new, and reject. They don't do that. As long as you can show, as long as your, let's say, sample size is something that you can do in your college, it's absolutely fine. Maybe you decide to have a sample size of 50 patients, and you have those 50 patients, then it's totally okay. There's no reason to reject it at all.
All right, thank you. And to Samira herself, there's another question directed to you that could you please elaborate about the study design that you were talking about in the proposal?
Okay, yes. I thought people would want to know that. So, I will be honest, my stats and PSM and things like that is not up to the mark, top notch. I usually approach my friends for questions like that. But to give you a short summary, study design is basically um, what how is your study going to how are you going to conduct your study. For example, if you're doing a cross-sectional study, like I said, it means that you're going to either collect the data or you're going to observe the people in one section of time or one period of time, meaning you're not going to select a portion of people and observe them into the future. That would become a cohort study, or a case control study would be something different. Now, there are a lot of details about these things that is really better given in your PSM textbooks, or you'll find it online. So I won't elaborate on it further, but if there's anyone else who would like to answer this question a little better, then please go ahead, because it's not my area of expertise. Yeah.
I think, as you mentioned, like no matter how much we explain, it'll be best if the audience looks it up, because there are a lot of YouTube videos and a lot of pages which provide information about the study designs with appropriate examples, so you guys might understand better.
Oh, yes, you can visit Jignasa's YouTube page. So, Sushant sir has conducted this lecture for us based on study design. So, you can look it up. He has explained it very well.
All right, thank you. So the absolute last question for the day. Okay, wait. There's another one. This one is for Kasturi. Can you tell the perspective to have while reading articles? Yeah, so the question is that what kind of perspective should you have? What kind of mindset should you have when you are reading articles, doing review of literature? So essentially, what are you looking for? Your Kasturi, you're not audible. There's probably some problem with your microphone. There's also a lot of static, a lot of noise in the background. No, it's still not audible.
Maybe she can write it in the. Oops.
Is someone's YouTube thing on? Maybe it's intersecting with it, maybe, I think.
Is somebody else's mic on? Maybe we can just mute all the mics. No, you're not. But then maybe you can answer via chat. So that is something we can do. You can put it in the chat box and then we'll put it up in the YouTube session, right? All right. So that wraps up our question and answer round. And there's just absolutely one last thing that somebody asked me, that is there any way people who are not from your college still join Jignasa? Because there are people who wish to do that.
I think Manali should answer this.
We haven't given it a thought yet. Like there were people who approached us for it. And since we started Jignasa just now, like in 2020, and we are still building it. So yeah, maybe next year we might open it for others as well. We might make it a bigger platform. So yeah, maybe not right now. We are still working on it, but maybe from next year we could do it from 2021.
That'll be really great for a lot of people. So everybody please look out for that, right?
Yeah, I had two questions for Samira.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yes,
Samira, yeah, so one was I was not, acquainted. I always did my researching like manually, okay? So I was not, very well, acquainted with the system of referencing systems. So I wanted to ask this key if you're changing something from the referencing, down below, like you said, right, you can add it in the middle. Does it change like the referencing code above as well as in the like introduction if I am citing it there? So does that
okay.
happen or I have to change it?
I think I'll just try to repeat your question to you to make sure I've understood.
Yeah.
You say that you write the references manually, which means, let's say you have 10 sentences and you write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in your paragraph, and below 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the bibliography comes below. And then you want to add between 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you want to add another one between 1 and 2. Then if you're doing it manually, the bibliography is not going to change. You'll have to add that manually below. But if you use something like Zotero or Mendeley, which are both free, by the way, you'll be able to just, all you have to do is where you want to add that reference, you put it in there, and Zotero or whatever will change the entire number and the format for you automatically. I know, yes, that look on your face is the look that I had on my face when I realized that there's something like this that exists. Yes, it will save you a lot of time, a lot of effort. And before you submit to a journal, please make sure you get the software, because if it gets rejected, you'll have to submit to another journal, which will have a different format, and you'll have to type everything again manually, which is not worth it. So
this is basically like a magic come true. And my second question
it's actually embarrassing that we're supposed to know this. We're supposed to know this, and then you realize I didn't know it. And so.
But then come on, research is a learning journey and we are learning every step.
Absolutely.
And my second question was, see, if I am publishing in a particular journal and it gets rejected, am I supposed to mention what are the reasons that it was rejected from the first journal while I'm applying for the second journal, or it's not?
The second journal has nothing to do with your paper getting rejected from the first. They don't ask also. You don't have to tell them that that I'm submitting this for the third time. In fact, don't do that. They don't ask it, and there's no need. So no.
And then I heard from some teacher that it takes a long process to publish. So why don't you, put for publication in 2 journals simultaneously? Will that work?
No. If they find, no, that's illegal. If they find out, they will reject, and I don't know if this is the right word, but blacklisting. You don't want that on your name at all. Just definitely don't do that. It's written in the rules. One of the first couple of things they write is make sure that you have not submitted this paper to any other journal.
Anyone else? Understood.
Yeah, don't do that.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for that. So just one last thing. If people wish to contact you personally, can they do that? Samira just shared her email ID. So maybe what we can do is that all of you could just share your email IDs with us, and we'll forward it on the groups that were created for the participants. And so anybody who wishes to reach out to them can do that through mail, right? All right. So I think that wraps up our session for today. Thank you very much for joining in. And thank you for all the speakers because it was an amazing session. And I'm sure that a lot of people benefited out of it.
Thank you so much. We had great fun. We learned a lot too. So thank you.
Thanks
Can
a
I
lot.
just add something?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, hi guys, I'm Manali Raut. I'm the research secretary, and I'm very happy that we got this opportunity. Manas had contacted us on Insta, and we were really happy to see that others, like other associations, are coming to us for this, and we are able to spread the knowledge regarding research. Like, even when I was in first year, I had no idea, and because of having such wonderful seniors, this has been possible. And yeah, so I thank Manas Abhinav for approaching us and telling us what to do and everything. And of course, Mridula, Aparna, thank you for being there. Thank you so much.
That is wonderful. I would once again like to thank all our speakers for their wonderful insight on this topic. I'm sure many participants will now be motivated to pursue research since they now have a bit of clarity on how to go about it. I will also urge the participants to connect with us on Instagram and be a part of these more such exciting events. The link to both our Instagram pages have already been shared. We'll share them once again. We'll also share the email IDs so you can personally contact us. Another thing, a post-event form will be circulated in the groups. Please fill it within the given time to receive your certificates. So once again, I thank all our guest speakers and our audience for being with us today. Have a good day. Bye.
Bye.